I always said, no matter what, my story is going to be heard and I'm going to make a difference in someone's life. And so overcoming, like, I've I've been in situations that
Dylan got it bumping. It take a certain type of motivation. Not to say I hope I make it, but to know I'll make it. See a way out through a pinhole, take a shot and make it. I'm that nigga.
Welcome everybody. This is the first episode of I Am the Change podcast, presented to you by Dreams to Reality Incorporated, nonprofit organization. I am one of your hosts, Mychal Davis, along with
JenairoThorton, also known as Jay.
Redmond.
My role in Dreams to Reality, I run a program called Rhythm of Hope. And what I'm doing with my program, just a little bit about me. What I'm doing with my program is I'm trying to create creative arts programs in the community for underprivileged youth that don't necessarily have the means. Their parents may not have the money. They may be in foster care, but they don't have the means themselves or the opportunities in front of them to be able to explore their creative talents that can essentially guide them away from the chaos they're surrounded in lower income areas. And I just want to keep kids from going down a bad road, like drugs, gangs, violence, underage pregnancies, you know what I'm saying? Anything I can do to redirect these kids into a better direction. A little bit about me as a child. I had to face many difficulties. At a young age, I had cancer that I had to overcome, and I survived, thankfully. I suffered through having two parents that were addicted to drugs, and which led me into being in foster care and some difficult situations that put me in a position where I had to choose between doing right and doing something wrong, but it was going to help me eat at night. And the fact that children still have to make that choice today bothers me. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't have had to make that choice. It should have been a better way out there. It should have been something out there to keep me out of those type of situations. And just that environment in general. And with everything going on in the country, police killing children of color, you know what I'm saying, on a regular basis, we need to step in and do something so our children are never in that position again, to be shot down in the street or to be a victim of the violence, you know what I'm saying, or the racism that is just a plague in this country today. So that's a little bit about me. Jenairo, if you want to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your program and what you want to do to affect change in the community.
Sure, I have no problem with it. So, as I said in the introduction, I'm JenairoThorton. I've been known as Jay, but that's because I took on it because a lot of people couldn't pronounce my first name. So Jenairo or Jay. So my passion or burning desire is to be able to create a resource that young people can take advantage of, that if not at least a stepping stone, it would be a very impactful resource that would get them to be on a road and a track of reaching their full potential. So I have a program called Operation Dad, which DAD is an acronym for Daughters with Absentee Daddies. And I also have a program called Boys to Men Breakfast Club. Both of those programs are targeted for little girls and boys between the ages of 5 till about 13. And the short version of both of the programs is it is a program which provides mentorships and workshops, all geared toward getting to a place of being on track to be successful in whatever endeavor that you have envisioned, you have dreamed of, or even a goal that you have written down that you want to accomplish. Uh, Within the programs, uh, with these workshops, will be additional resources and teachings that we want to be able to provide to these young girls and young boys. Um, it came about because as I was growing up, I was blessed to have a mother and father in my life under the same roof and was very much involved in the upbringing of my life and was very much cognizant and determined to make sure that I wouldn't turn out to be a statistic. And that is from being one out of the four that is either in jail or dead as an African American young man, boy, or male, however way you want to say it. They was very determined that I would be educated. My mother was an educator for 40 plus years. My grandparents were educators. My grandfather was a principal. My grandmother, and this was my maternal grandparents. My grandmother was an educator for 40 plus years in high school, and I think it was middle school. So I had the foundation that uh, was preached to me from both mother and father and grandparents, and basically all the adults that was in my life. Uh, they always pushed education being the key toward success, and education being the key toward uh, any and almost all accomplishments that you are wanting to have. You need to have an education behind it. So, uh, as I had that upbringing, it became evident. I believe it was pretty much maybe my senior year of high school. I recognized a difference in the way I was brought up and with some of my friends, more so my peers that I went to school with. And you know how it goes. You go to school and you try to find a, 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 a group or a crew or a group of people that accept you and want to be a part of. So through that process of interaction, I was exposed to different people ways of upbringing. So though I couldn't really identify it, I just knew it was different. And what was different is I didn't see a daddy in the home all the time. I didn't see a mother involved like mine was, even from having a meal on the table every night, even if it was a pizza from Pizza Hut. I went to some people's houses and they didn't have anything. Refrigerator was bare. Went to some people's houses and the mother and father wasn't there. The mother and father wasn't there the next day. The mother and father hadn't been there for 3 or 4 days. So fast forward to identifying was when I was in college. It really hit me that my upbringing in my generation had become a rarity. And the rarity is I had both parents under one roof. I had both parents being involved, disciplining me, teaching me, telling me right from wrong, supporting me both financially, supporting me when it came to encouraging, supporting me when it came to mental and spiritual food. So when I recognized that it was a rarity, then I wanted to eventually bring about change. Eventually, I wanted to be able to help others that had the potential, but they wasn't given the same type of resources and gems that I had, which was my mother and father, and my mother and father consciously deciding, say, hey, we're gonna raise this one to the utmost. And the utmost was, I would say, to a independent, self-sufficient, law-abiding, and leading intelligent Black man. My mother used to tell me all the time, hey, I'm raising men. I ain't raising no mice. As long as I got breath in my body, you ain't gonna be no mice. You ain't gonna be no mouse. I want to raise men. So didn't quite know what that was, but she said that pretty often when it came to me and my brother. So after acknowledging and identifying that everybody doesn't have the lifestyle and the same type of upbringing when it comes to morals and values, when it comes to self-esteem, when it comes to not having to have the worries that I never had. I never had to worry of going into my house and wondering if there's going to be food in the kitchen. Never. I don't know what that was like. And I used to talk to people when I was in college that had that. Never. Even when I was doing wrong and I was being punished, and I was so indignant that, I didn't want to eat what my mama fixed. Well, you ain't going to eat tonight. You go to bed, put a little extra toothpaste on your toothbrush. Never did that affect me in a way where it damaged me when it came to adding stress in my life. It was a punishment. It wasn't I didn't receive it as the type of stress of a young boy that has to go home and really not know if they're going to have food to eat. Like that it never affected me like that. And I've had experiences where I mentored boys that it was sad because they would try to be tough and not let it show that you taking me home is I'm doing better staying in this community center all night because you taking me home. I have no support there. I don't have the security that I receive when I'm staying at this community center. So it was sad. So always wanting and having that type of wanting to make a change was one part of the developing and origin of Dreams to Reality. And after spending time with Jason, it was a moment where I just felt comfortable sharing with Jason that I wanted to come up with a program where I could help young people. And that was my contribution to Dreams to Reality. Didn't quite know what it was going to look like when I first mentioned it to Jason. We were both athletes, so I thought starting with sports might be an easier go because we were both familiar. But the biggest thing that I disclosed to Jason is that I wanted to do something, or I wanted to develop an organization that helped young people.
All right. All right. I guess it's my go.
Yes, sir. If you want to, you know what I'm saying, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your vision. I would love to.
So, again, my name is Jason Redmond. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm one of 4 children my mother and father had. And my life started off like Jenairo's life. It took a drastic turn when I was like in the 3rd and the 4th grade. My parents got divorced. And the one thing I can always remember after my parents being divorced was the hardest thing was I love my parents equally. So there was never I was a mama's boy, I was a daddy's son. That was never the case. I was always around my dad because that was my superhero. And then my father was a football coach. He was always coaching. So I'd be around my mom I'd be around my mom a lot. But whenever I could go to the game, be a ball boy, man, I was on that sideline. I was excited to watch what he was doing because to me, my superhero was taking young men out of impoverished situations and changing their lives. I can remember thinking, give me 4 years and I could change your life. And that was a battle cry that I would hear. And I would watch the young guys as they would go and they would come in as freshmen and they would leave as seniors and they'd be totally different. Like guys would come in wilding. They would come in like just a wild animal. And then by the time they became a senior, they were grown men with children or grown men with responsibilities. And they were different. Like the summer, like we'd go to Nashville every summer and we come back. When that transformation happened to be quick, and then we come back, they'd be totally different people. Like they even talk different, they walk different, and act different. I was like, man, this guy is a superhero. But then my parents got divorced, and life was a little different. I was the young man. I wasn't the young man in that JenairoThorton talked about, would go home and his parents weren't there. But I was a young man that would go home. My mom would go to work at like 6 a.m. She'd get back at like 6 or 7 o'clock at night. She worked on the other side of town. So anywhere in Houston is 30 to 40 minutes. So she was on the other side of town. So it would take 40 minutes for her to get home. So from the time I got out of school or practice and got home, she might just be walking through the door, or she wouldn't be there. She wouldn't be there until like 30 to 40 minutes later. So we had to grow up a little faster because we had to take care of each other. And it was always a little different. I have a big space in my heart for single moms because my mother was a single mom. When my parents got divorced, it was her, my aunt, my 2 sisters, my older brother, me. So we were the crew. So if we were going somewhere, it was all of us. We were piled up in the cars, going to church on Sundays, coming back home. So my thing was like, my passion is single moms and making sure they have all the resources they need to be successful, to help their children be successful. My big battle cry is I believe in financial literacy. I believe in economic empowerment. Like I don't want anybody to ever suffer because they just don't know. And when you're in a particular economic class, people don't pour information into you because they can't get anything out of it. You don't see financial planners coming to the hood to teach folks about saving money or taking a stimulus check and putting it in an investment account to grow a nest egg to be ready to buy a house in 6 months. They don't do that. So my goal is anything that my mother didn't get when we were growing up, like being poured in knowledge wise, I want to make sure that these parents get this. And these children, if the parents don't want it, you don't have to live like your parents live. If they don't want anything better than what they got right now, hey, that's cool. That's their decision. But you can have anything you want to have. And my goal is that one child that wants to be different, hey man, hey, come on. I run a success project and we work with, again, young people that are disadvantaged. You have to qualify in one of 3 factors. It either has to be economics, social, or academic. And what we do is take that individual and we help them correlate their academic, correlate academics to their future career or entrepreneur endeavors. If somebody comes from a low to moderate income family, we work with that family to find out what that family's goals are. The primary breadwinner's goal, whether it's mom and dad, whether it's the mom, whether it's the dad, grandmother, whoever the primary guardian of that child is. Like, what do y'all want out of y'all life? Do you want to stay where you are right here? Or do you want to get something different? If you want to get something different, hey, that's great. Let's help them get that different. If you don't, hey, what does that child want? If that child wants to go to college but doesn't know how to get there, we help them get there. We do everything we can to help them be successful. We run an ugly project. The ugly project is we take items that are dilapidated, whether it's houses, cars. We take those and we try to renovate it and put them back into circulation to help families that might not be able to buy a brand new home, buy a quality house, or somebody or a young person might need a car. We'll renovate a car. We'll get them we used to call them back in the day, the hoopties. Give them a nice little hoopty, something to drive, something to keep them, something to get them from point A to B. Put that in their path. A lot of people don't have cars because they can't afford them. We don't want them to get rich off selling a car. We want you to have something that you need so that can be a stepping stone to something better. So, Jason Redmond, I just want to help hurting people heal a community. That's all I really want to do. So, again, I'm happy to be here on this podcast with you guys and working to make a change. So I'm looking forward to great things coming. And I'll turn it back over to you, Mychal. You're still on mute.
I think it's amazing to hear you guys' story and the different backgrounds, but how you both came to the same conclusion that change needed to be made in different areas of the community. And I know, along with myself and my program, there's a few other programs under DTR, like the Bully Diversion Center, the Teen Gen program, and I just want to kind of know. I want you to let the people know why you guys decided to join forces with these different programs and kind of put them under your wing. What was your inspiration behind that, and how do you want to affect change as a whole? Partner with these different programs.
Janeiro, you want to go first? You want me to go first? All right, okay. So
you got it.
I met Mr. Thornton. I'm gonna call him Mr. Thornton. I met Janeiro in Durham, North Carolina, and we clicked. Janeiro's a bit younger than I am. But instantly, man. So I'm the youngest male in my family out of my siblings. I've never had a younger brother, so he just came on the scene like the younger brother, like what I expected my younger brother to be like. So I have a younger sister, but she's 7 years younger than I am. So we didn't really hang out in the same, then she's my younger sister, so we didn't really hang out in the same circles. But Janeiro came on, we just clicked, man. We just hung out and we would talk about doing something to change. Janeiro's a big basketball fan. And so we were coaching basketball. And so we always talked about the guys that we would take home. I would take a guy home every day. And Janeiro said, man, you take this guy home every day. He doesn't give you any gas money. His parents don't give you any gas money. They don't even come outside to say thank you. He said, why you keep taking that guy home? I said, man, because that guy's going to get older. He's going to remember that coach that took him home every day. And I want to make sure that I'm that person that can be that change in that guy's life, to show him that somebody outside of his house really cares for him other than wanting something from him. And from then on, we started dialoguing. And I started a company and I just never did anything with it. And he brought it to my attention. We talked about it's a skills camp?
Yeah. It started off, I think we was going to try to do a tournament, because I think I wanted to do an all-star tournament where I was going to target being able to showcase young guys who could not afford to go to these big time camps, Nike tournaments, Adidas tournaments, the best of the AAU teams, and go travel. And that's where we started to push toward. And then it evolved because I think we just kind of found out the type of work and the type of, first of all, finance that it would take to do a tournament. And then it was just a lot of moving and working parts that was going to take longer than our targeted date. And I'm gonna be honest, and this is where we complement each other, because as we started getting into the process of trying to put something together, I started seeing how deep it was. I started seeing that, hey, this takes a little bit more than what at least I thought that was going to keep us from hitting our target date. And I won't ever forget, Jason told me, say, hey, man, we're going to be throwing footballs in June. And this was in the springtime. And I had told Jason, I said, hey, man, how about we push this back? He's like, nah, we throwing footballs in June, man. We're going to do this, buddy. So the complimentary part is I'm over analytical. It's no secret to my family. I got it honestly, but I can't tell you who I got it from. But I definitely got it honestly. It's a DNA or a genetic gene that came from the bloodline that attached to me, because it didn't attach to my brother or my sister. So I get over analytical. The complementary part is with Jason is the confidence, and once it's been established that we're going to do this, Jason is full steam ahead.
Oh yeah.
Whatever it takes, full steam ahead. It is no pause. There's no pumping of the brakes.
Mm-mm.
We said we're gonna do this, and in his mind, it's done. So that's a good complimentary, because I get to going, and the over analytical part of my brain takes over, and the stuff that I am over analyzing on is nothing but a hindrance from the overall picture. And that's what I didn't see, but Jason did. So our first event was a skills camp. So as we saw the tournament was going to be a bit much, because I think it was a 7-on-7 tournament, Jason, that we was going to start off trying to do, because we was going to try to get the Durham County Stadium.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so it evolved and shifted into, hey man, let's do a skills camp. We can get different players from different schools to come to one field and work on their individual skills training for their specific sport. But the one component that separated us from anybody else's skills camp is Jason instituted a 1-hour educational session with the parent or guardian of that athlete or student athlete or that player, had to sit in and be given informative information about college admissions, about student athletic scholarships, and I forgot the other components, Jason.
Probably was financial aid.
Okay. Yeah.
Financial aid. Because we had the admissions. Was he the admissions director at St. Augustine College, St. Augustine University?
I believe he was. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then we had a counselor, right, to come in and talk about the requirements.
Yes, we had I think the gentleman was a counselor at Chapel Hill High School, came in and talked about the NCAA clearinghouse information. I believe that's who it was. But yeah, it was the camp the skills camp was a very eye-opening opportunity. We even had a professional NFL player come in, and talking to him was very, I'm not gonna lie, man, I was inspired because when we talked to him on the phone prior to coming, he talked about, hey man, when I get off work, I'll give you guys a call. And he kept saying, I gotta go to work. And I kept saying, hey man, where you work at? Like, what kind of job you're a football player. What work do you do? He was like, nah, man, I'm going to training camp. I'm going to OTAs. I was like, oh, you're calling football your job. He was like, yeah. I'm like, never in a million years would I put that together. That was his job. So that showed me right then and there. That's why I never went pro, because I never would have taken that thing serious. But it was a job. And for me, at that time, I never thought of playing in the NFL as a job. I thought it was, hey man, I'm just going to work. Like, I thought I was going to play football. Like, that's what I would have said. When I get through a practice, I'll be over there, or I'll call y'all. But he was like, I'm going to work. And so that was the first time we hooked up, did a program, and from then we just took off.
So I want to also add, Mychal, when we took off, what I noticed was the amount of work that it was taking to get the type of recognition and participation that, I speak for me, but I think Jason would agree as well, to get the type of participation and recognition, which when I say recognition, I'm talking about funding. I'm talking about recognition in terms of funding, in terms of being presented the demographics, also the type of recognition when it comes to getting a collective from the community to pour into us and into the organization. In addition to basically doing this for free, because we weren't receiving any type of funds. Mm-hmm. We didn't have any type of sponsorship. We didn't have any type of grants. This was straight coming from our personal wallets and some donations that was given from personal friends or someone that we had connected with and really believed in what we were doing is going to be beneficial for their youth. So it was all Jason that had the concept, because again, the over analytical me wants to keep everything structured and centralized and a specific model. It was Jason that basically you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. And
that's that old time country saying right there.
Hey, me being from Memphis, Tennessee, I got some of it as well.
I understand, man. I understand. I understand.
So it was Jason that just made the executive decision to go with a model. And at the time, I didn't look at it as a model. At the time, I looked at it as, man, we're going to lose control. This is going to be haywire. It's going to be chaos. But Jason was like, hey, what is wrong with partnering up with people with like ideas, like minds, and that are wanting to basically accomplish the same goal, which is affect change, bring about change, heal the community. Mm-hmm. And Jason was the one to begin recruiting people that had programs, but they didn't have the nonprofit title. I didn't think nothing of it. And actually, I was leery of it. Wasn't against it. I was just leery. But I am going to segue this to Jason to explain his model for making that decision to kind of shift the organizational model in that fashion.
So the young lady below, I'm a segue into and I'm a segue from what Janeiro talked about and into Ms. Lovett. So one of the things that I tell people is my passion is I love single moms, and I like that niche market because that's where I'm comfortable, because that's what I came from. So for me, I want to be comfortable in whatever I do. I don't want to do anything that keeps me uncomfortable. So when I met Miss Lovett, we talked about, actually it was almost 20 years ago. I think, wasn't it, you were in college, correct, Charisse?
I was.
So it was like,
was it 20 years ago? It was like 15.
Okay, I don't want to put your age out there. My bad. I'm sorry. I apologize. So it was a couple of years ago. Miss Lovett was
put a little too much on it, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. I'm dating you. My bad. I'm putting you back with the Game Boys. My bus. So Miss Lovett so we were coaching at a inner city baseball league, and I saw Miss Lovett maybe a week prior, and she was coaching, and she was doing her thing. She was all over the place. She was corralling her team. And then the following Saturday, I saw her, she had a cast on her arm. And I'm like, yo, what happened? She's like, I fell. And then she was right off corralling her team. Nothing changed. The only thing changed about it was she had a cast on her arm. And I was like, yo, that if I ever get a chance to work with her, I'm gonna work with her. Fast forward 7 years, maybe fast forward some years, I'm coaching basketball at a middle school that doesn't have a gym. And so the team was sharing a gym with another middle school, and it was obvious that school did not want them in their gym. So my second year, I said, look, we've got to go out and find some resources to help these young people be successful, because they don't want you in their gym. So I went across the street to the local rec center, and lo and behold, who walks out of the office as the manager of the rec center? But it's Miss Lovett. And everything you would have thought that we were Duke University coming in here asking for some stuff, because she gave us everything. We got the gym for free. We got to sell concessions in the park, in the foyer. It was great. The school finally got revenue from the basketball team, the program, the guys had a home court. It was beautiful. And it was a great opportunity. So that developed a friendship, being around Miss Love, because you have to come in there and talk about, hey, Jason, you can't practice on Fridays because we have open gym, blah, 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 blah. But one thing I learned about Miss Lovett was she has a great story to tell. And in her story, she loves young ladies and helping the young ladies become successful, coming out of bad situations to be successful, to not let their environment be their hindrance, be their crutch. So when I had the opportunity, I asked Charisse, would you be willing to come and do a program? And she said yes. So Charisse, I know Charisse. Like we talk every Wednesday. We have a conversation. So I want you to introduce yourself to the world. Thank you for coming on the podcast first and foremost. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. I love the scarf. I don't want to borrow it. It looks nice on you. But I want you to tell Mychal and fill Mychal and Janeiro in on your program and how you're going to be how you are an agent of change.
Not just me, the people that's going to watch the podcast as well.
Okay, so hello everybody. That was an amazing introduction, Jason. I don't know how I can follow that up.
It was.
My name is Charisse Lovett, and as Jason said, my passion is young ladies, because I was once that young lady. And let me know how long I have, how my story is gonna go. So I was that statistic. I got pregnant in high school. I played school ball. So I was actually supposed to play for North Carolina Central. Dreams were crushed because I found I was pregnant my senior year. So had my daughter like 3 months before graduating high school. And I always told myself, okay, I got this statistic, teenage mom, but I'm not gonna be a high school dropout. So that was my hunger to finish. I ended up in Durham actually because my mom said, well, you can't be in the house after the age of 18. Like, okay, where am I supposed to go? So she's like, I'll find somewhere for you. Who knew that was gonna be the Durham Rescue Mission? But I feel like that was the foundation that made me who I am. So it was at that point, not only am I having to show my daughter that I can overcome, I got to now prove this to the world and everybody that's around me. Because at the mission, I was the youngest one there. They have a program you go through, you learn Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, medical terminology. And I'm like, I just graduated high school. So I'm in here with people that's a lot older, looking to start over, and I'm looking to just begin. So finished the program, enrolled at North Carolina Central. It took me about 5 years to graduate, hit a couple of stumbling blocks, but again, it was, I'm gonna finish. So during that time is when I met Jason. Started out at the rec center, volunteering, did a after school program for free. Came in and did some mentoring and they hired me on. I always loved sports. When I was playing school ball, I knew I was gonna be the first woman in the NBA because I was that nice. And then then the WNBA came out and I was like, oh, they really have a league for us. Like, this is dope. So, and in my head, I still belong somewhere at that level at the young age of 39. So, but so overcoming, like I've been in situations that, I wish I wasn't in. I've been sexually assaulted. So things like that. And it's like, I'm going to still overcome. So in 5 years, finished my bachelor's, got a degree in criminal justice with a concentration in law enforcement. So when Jason saw me at this.
You was going to be a police officer?
Let me tell you, I love the police.
Oh, man, I didn't know that.
Yes. So when you saw me coaching, when I shattered my elbow with that cast, that was 2 weeks before police academy. So that's what I was supposed to be doing. Wow. And
oh no, let me chime in. No. That was not what you were supposed to be doing.
But in my head at the time.
Tell her.
Right.
God interjected.
In my head at the time, that's what I was supposed to be doing. Yeah. And so I was oh my God.
That wasn't a bad fall. That was a good fall. That was a fall that changed the community. That was a fall that changed the game. All right.
Hey,
I didn't know that.
That fall was a blessing.
Yeah. So I was indeed. What am I going to do? This is, so I'm in Parks and Rec, and I was like, I didn't go to school for this. And like, okay, Lord, you, and Janeiro, like you said, it changed the path, the direction of where my life was going to go. So I moved up in Parks and Rec, worked in athletics, came back to the rec center, and I was like, oh, this is the opportunity to touch people. And I started with a small group of young ladies, and I'll never forget my first girls mentoring group. It's called A Journey to Transformation, Shaping Young Girls into Young Ladies. And so it was a 12-week program, and every week we had different speakers come in. So we had the gang unit and the health department, They went to a fitness club. They went and got manicures. We talked about etiquette. And I know the first 2 years, Maggiano's actually sponsored full course meals for 12 girls for those first 2 years. So they were able to go to Maggiano's and show what they learned in a program and like have this entire catered dinner. And these are experiences. And that's one thing, even with other programs like summer camp and after school, I'm about experiences. And my mom was a retired educator and I'm about writing a paper. So like in summer camp, we took them ice skating. Like, Miss Charisse, Black people don't ice skate. Boom, research, let's write a paper on it. Yes, they do. and so, and that's where I was like, I like this. I feel good. And anywhere I went, so even after the Parks and Rec in Durham, I left for a little bit, went to the post office, and went to North Carolina A&T and worked and was a hall director there. Mm-hmm. Again, over a female's dorm, again, being able to sit down with these college freshmen and have that life lesson. And Jason knows my life lessons are raw.
Yes, yes, Lord.
I don't sugarcoat anything because it wasn't sugarcoated for me. I had to experience it. So it is now to the point where Jason asked me to do this program, and I was like, oh my gosh, you've given me a blank sheet of paper and said, make it work, and you can do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. I was like, bet.
Just make sure you get that
consent form signed.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Let's get that consent form. Yeah.
No, I got you.
Yeah. So all these life experiences, you shattered your elbow. You were going to be a police officer. You're helping young ladies. You're doing all these. What is the proudest moment that you've had working with young people?
Ooh.
Now, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and put it on wax because we asked you, did you want to have these questions? Did you want to have us?
She said she wanted it raw and uncut.
I want to come off the cup.
Hey, well, we gotta get that.
Okay, so I had to just pick one. Okay, I'm gonna pick.
Yeah, give me what you got.
Okay, so
let me interject. This is your proudest moment to date.
But some of them are like right.
That's fine.
Right there.
Fine. This your this your floor, Beyonce. Go do what you do.
So we're gonna go back. The first time I realized where you make a difference is when they age out your program and they come back and see you. And they're like, I remember when.
Okay.
So I had an after school student who was a terror, like throwing chairs like that. And he brought his wife back to the building and he said, Miss Charisse, do you remember when? And I was like, do I? And so it was that. It's like, okay, so I was memorable for something. The latest probably would be, I had a set of twins that volunteered for me. I went to North Carolina A&T and they were RAs there. One in my building, one in the building next door. So it was like, so it made me comfortable because it was somebody I knew there. So I was their local mom. Their mom was like, well, they told me that you're there, so now I don't have to run up and down the highway. You take care of whatever needs to happen there. If you need me, call me. So after they graduated, they were in a really bad car accident. And I remember getting that phone call and they said, you were my other mother. And we couldn't have, you had to also know what was going on. So just keeping me abreast on how they were healing and rehab. So I have extended family now. I didn't grow up with a large family and we really weren't close. So getting all these new babies. So some of them are my children and others are like little nieces and stuff.
Gotcha.
So,
gotcha. Gotcha.
Those would be when they become family. So like I said, it's so many.
It's so many experiences or so many people?
So many experiences.
Okay, all right.
Now, I think, oh, go ahead.
No, you got it, Mychal.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think your story is such an inspiration. And when you said something about the Durham Rescue Mission, I remember my mom being a single mother and as a young child living at the Raleigh Rescue Mission, and her having to work and you know what I'm saying, be a mother, and you went through a similar situation. So what do you say to the young ladies watching this that are trying to overcome those same obstacles and challenges? Because I mean, I can imagine being a single mother, getting your degree. I mean, you know what I'm saying, fighting that uphill battle, it was hard. What do you say to the young lady that's fighting and facing some of those same challenges? Like, to keep, how does she keep pushing? You know, how does she not just give up?
So I'm gonna start off by saying I didn't end with the degree with one child. I ended the degree with 3 kids. So
that's a lot of love.
So
that's a lot of love right there.
The midst of my college career, I ended up having 2 more children. So that added to it. So it was a lot. I just remember, like, I recently found a paycheck stub and I was making like $7.25 an hour. And I'm like, you know, I look at that now, I'm like, Lord, I don't know how lights didn't get cut off, but you know, you made it happen.
Jesus was the landlord, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so what do I tell somebody that's in the same situation? You have to just stay prayed up. You're not gonna know where the next opportunity is gonna come from. You're not gonna know, like, I didn't know anybody in Durham. I was lost, but I talked to people. I wasn't ashamed of my situation because I knew I wasn't going to stay in that situation. And I think it's a mindset. So I didn't use it as a hindrance. I didn't wallow in it. I said, I have to come out of this. This is not for me. This is not where I saw myself. So I think that was one thing that drove me. So part of it is what is burning in that person. You know, do they want to do better or do they want to stay there and wallow? And I want to say the motto for the Durham Rescue Mission was offering a hand up, not a hand out, or something like that. And so, and that's the difference. Are you looking for that step to help you get out of what you're doing? Or are you just looking for somebody to continue to feed you in that space?
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Janelle, you had a question?
I did. I wanted to ask, this 2 questions.
Okay.
What you're doing now, is it a passion?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Second question is, when did you identify, or did you always want to be able to help our young people as a passion, or did that come about because of the circumstance that you had to persevere through your senior year?
Oh, I like that. Okay, so I always enjoyed working with people. So like my first job at 14 was at a daycare center. So I've always worked with people. And I saw, even wanting to be a police officer, the community policing was like what was in me. So I want you to see me before you need me. Where you have those police officers that are in neighborhoods and you know who they are. So that's the type of police officer I wanted to be. So I think it was always there, but it was never a finger on how it was going to look. So working in Parks and Rec, that started shaping itself. Like when I was coaching, I ended up coaching school ball at this middle school, which was an experience. So when you see those young ladies and you're having to go out and buy, you know, sports bras because they don't have just a proper stuff to play basketball in, and it's like, okay, somebody needs to help. You know, I can't do it all, but I could be the person that starts it. And then it came back full circle at my current position with Winston-Salem Recreation and Parks. And when I started working there and they asked, like, where did you come from? You know, what's your background? And so I was like, you know, I've done this, and I worked in Durham. And they were like, oh my God, if you can work in Durham, you can work anywhere. Let me tell you, them kids in Winston are special. That's a different breed of child in Winston. And I've had to learn that. And I think, and they wanted affirmation from somebody to say, you can do. Like, what you're doing is not okay. And I feel like every child wants structure. They just don't know how to ask for it.
I can dig it. So your Teen Gen program, tell me when the program starts. Tell me when, what's the, how many people are going to be in it? How long is the program? Tell me a little bit more about the program. And if I missed it, I apologize because I really was actively listening.
I didn't mention it. So you didn't miss it.
Oh, good.
Okay, so the Teen Gen program, Gen, GEN stands for Getting Empowered Now. And it goes from May 8th to July 24th, not meeting Memorial Weekend or 4th of July weekend.
Okay.
I'm a realist. We're not gonna have everybody show up.
I'm saying that, hey, yeah, those are two holidays that people don't want to get.
They're not coming. Yeah. So, and I know that.
May 8th until when?
May 8th to July 24th.
Okay.
So what they meet on Saturday, each session will hold 10 girls. So it's just based on how many girls I have sign up. So if I get 30 girls to sign up, I will be repeating the same thing every Saturday 3 times. So I've committed to it. I'll be in Durham, North Carolina every Saturday from May to July. And I'm excited about it. So, and it's gonna flow like the journey to transformation. I have some guest speakers. I'll be leading a lot of the workshops. And so some of the topics are about coping skills, how to deal with peers. Once it's lost, you can't get it back. Talking about sexual health and sexual awareness. They'll hear from a caterer about healthy eating. They'll talk to a therapist. And I'm also looking, fingers crossed, I know a lady who started a beauty college in Durham, whose youngest student was 14 to get her cosmetology license.
Wow.
So, you know, talking about entrepreneurship, because like I have that under my belt too. So they need to know that there's different avenues of making money. A 4-year university is not for everybody's, but there's legal and legit ways where you can bring in income.
I'm glad you said legal and legit. Yeah. I'm glad you put that spin on it. So yes. If somebody wants to get involved in the program, how do they get in contact with you?
ChariseLovett.org, and that's ChariseLovett at dreams, DreamsToReality inc.org.
All right. Look, if they didn't know how to spell it today, they learned today.
They learned today, little boots.
So question, with the Teen Gen program, you know, if I'm a young lady and I come May 8th through July 24th, and I've gotten so much value, and I'm just excited about moving forward, but I want to continue on that mentorship. Do you have anything lined up for the future, or any programs you plan on doing to further that mentorship and that guidance for these young ladies?
So yeah, so with this first cohort, we would like for them to come back and mentor the next group of kids. So eventually where they may be leading sessions and they're not just all listening to me speak. I have a lot of words and I love to talk. But if they hear it from a peer who's been in that situation or has gone through a program, I think it resonates more. So having them involved that way. And then also going out, I know Jason and I had talked about this, going out to the elementary schools, and I'm big on community projects. So just finding ways to keep them together and going out into the community.
Okay.
I think that's amazing. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm cutting you off.
I was just saying, I think that's amazing to continue that connection and also build, with the next group. Because it's easier to hear it from a peer, you know what I'm saying, than an adult. And they just like, dude, sometimes it can seem like you're being disciplined. But from a peer, it's like, oh, all right, you going through what I'm going through. So yeah, I can get it. I love that. I think that's an amazing idea and program to have for these young ladies. Because these days, the figures they got to look up to, you just see it on TV. They mostly half naked, and asking for money or something like that. And I just think what these young ladies have to look up to is ridiculous. But role models like you and creating another generation of role models that can, take the reins is what we need in the community.
We gotta go ahead, Janeiro.
I have another question for Charisse, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just one, but the question is what was the defining moment that hit the switch in your head or pushed the button or made you say, hey, I want to help out young girls? And I didn't hear you say anything about race. Are you specifically wanting to help out African-American girls, little Black girls, or minority girls? But that's the second component. The first component is, what was the defining moment in your life that you experienced or that you saw? It could have been somebody else that you saw that said, hey, with I Am the Change podcast, I need to know where you said that I want to be a part of the change with young girls.
I want to say, going back to just my story, and because all it takes is, I don't want to say a mistake, a slip up, to be in the situation. So, it was a slip up, and at that point, I was dealt a new deck of cards, a new hand.
Oh yeah.
So, with my oldest being a girl, and I saw what she was doing at that age, and I'm like, Lord, this is like, it's repeating itself. So she was a mother in high school, and I'm like, this is got to stop at some point. And so it was a lot of different factors that said, even with working in the recreation center, you see different situations, and you have that child that stays at the rec center until it's time to close because that was their safe place. They didn't want to go home. And so it was all those different things. So I can't say it was like one defining moment. It was a mix of different things. But I love our little Black girls.
Got a question.
Oh,
You said it was a mix of things. So was it a mix of things that kept repeating, that you kept seeing, or you just had to see those mix of things one time and you was like, hey, it's time for me to be the change from I Am the Change podcast.
So
hosted by Michael Davis.
So there was because of what I grew up in. So I didn't, I grew up in suburbia, which you didn't see a lot of teenage pregnancies. And then, or they were hidden. I couldn't have mine. I got swelled up like a watermelon. It was there. So then when I moved to Durham, I was like, oh, this is, because I went to a culture shock when I moved to Durham. Like, yeah, I hadn't seen that many Black people concentrated before. So
growing up in suburban, okay.
Yeah, so it was, I went into a culture shock, and I remember catching the city bus, and there was this young lady on the bus, and I was like, oh my God, you're babysitting. And she was like, no, these are my kids, and I have one more at home. And I was like, well, baby, how old are you? And she was 25, and she had 4 kids on the bus with her, with number 5 at home. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm about to die with this one. And you got 5. So I said, this is something that's happening more than I realize. So seeing it there, like I said, with my daughter, and just seeing like just different situations in the workplace and in the community, it was like it was just those where it's like the story, it goes back to the story where I can relate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I got you.
But I want to touch on your second part of the question you had for me.
Yes.
About our little brown babies.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a need for that love for our Black and brown children. But I feel like all of God's creatures need it's happening in all races and all cultures. So am I just like with blinders on to our Black and browns? No, it's open, and I'm open to whomever wants to listen.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just as long as they sign that waiver.
Just as long. Let me tell you, this consent. Because I got a lot to say.
Yes. You're not coming in there. You're not coming in if you ain't signed that waiver, baby. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. So look, I want to thank you for coming, Charisse. I want to thank you for taking out of your time this night and talking with us. And I want to personally say thank you for coming on board with Dreams to Reality, bringing your Teen Gem program to us to help our community. I think your story is going to change the game. I think what you have done in your life and then the circumstances you come through to where you are now is leaps and bounds, and you are an inspiration to young ladies all across the world. And I want to say personally, thank you for what you're doing, and personally thank you for again coming on board and working with us, because you know what it's like to come through the struggle, and you haven't, like, to me, you haven't skipped a beat. You haven't let anything stop you. If I'm not mistaken, you sell Mary Kay also, correct?
I currently sell Mary Kay. I'm currently in grad school. Yeah. Currently working a full-time job. So yeah. The plate is full.
Yes. Currently a boss.
You got the ham,
currently a boss.
I'm a boss babe all day long.
Yeah, I see it. I see
you doing it. That is going to inspire women, young women all across the world. I just want to personally say I'm glad to be partnered with you through young women all across the world. Oh, was we back? I froze.
Yeah,
You froze for a second. You did.
Oh, all right.
Back.
But yeah, I just want to say you're truly an inspiration, and it's I'm just glad to be partnering with you through DTR. And just let's keep inspiring and keep changing the world. What you're doing is amazing. Keep doing it. Keep shining. Keep grinding.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to pick it back and say the same thing, but a little difference in my actual statement is, Charisse, you have the energy, you have the fortitude, and you have the voice that is needed for young women all across the world, different races. They need to be a part and to receive that energy and that fortitude that you have. I see nothing but great things. You've already done great things, and just keep it going with the energy that you give, with the determination that you have, with the fortitude that you exhibit. And I also am glad to be able to partner with you from dreams to reality, because I want to be able to have Operation Dad, daughters with absentee daddies, be able to transition into Team Jen.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, because through Dreams, through Rhythm of Hope, I'm definitely gonna have some young ladies a part of the organization, and I'm gonna need help with those young ladies. Definitely being a male, and I do want some of them to transition. Even though I'm in Seattle, you guys are in North Carolina. Well, Charisse and Jason, you guys are in North Carolina. I still want to be able to find a way so they got access to Teen Gym, because it's just an amazing program. Like Jenairo said,
I catch flights, Mychal. I catch flights.
Oh yeah, hey, so we catching flights, because I'm gonna be catching flights too. I got to get down there, definitely, and see you in person, and really just talk about everything and make that connection.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoy. The platform is amazing, and like I said, the story has to be told and heard, because there's so many that have been in my shoes or currently in my shoes. So I thank you.
No, again, thank you. So with that said, I'm gonna turn it back over to Mychal Davis. You can take us out of here. And again, so next week we'll be coming back. We'll be talking with DeWanson Clark. He's going to be talking about the Bully Diversion Center. He's got a great program that he's using American bullies to teach leadership and social skills for disadvantaged and at-risk youth. So if you thought this was amazing, we're going to just keep building the momentum up and onward we go. So I'm Jason Redmond.
JenairoThorton.
I'm Mychal Davis.
Hey, we want to thank you all for coming on. Thank you again. Thank you, Charisse, for spending time with us on the I Am the Change podcast. You're Black history because you're our first guest.
Oh yeah, history in the making. Yeah. That is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to thank everybody for joining us on this week's episode, the first episode. Many to come. It's been amazing sitting here talking with Charisse and enjoying you guys, audience. We will be back same time, same place next week. And remember, we're not trying to be better than anybody, but together we can achieve better for everybody. Thank you and see you next week.